All right, this is Daf Yomi in Motion, number 809. Today we're going to learn Daf Pei Tes in Bab Metzia, and we're going to be speaking about Anavim v'davar acher. We spoke about different ways in which when a poyel is working for somebody, when he's allowed to eat from what he's working with. And some of the questions were when he's not allowed to eat is when he takes the crop, the fruit, like Anavim, and he combines it with something else that he makes him able to eat more of it. That he's not allowed to do. So the Gemara begins on Pei Ches, on the base at the bottom. 3 lines up from the bottom. So the Ela Shor Be'mechuber Minalan. A poyel person b'mechuber, how he's from, we learned from Kama and from Chermesh, that he's allowed to eat as they're detaching a crop, they can then eat it. That's called b'shas gmar malacha. That's shas gmar malacha. As they're doing that gmar malacha, they can eat it without having to have a chiyuv meiser for it. But where do we know a shor b'shas disha, which is when the produce is talush, when it's detached, because disha is kernels that are already detached. Where do we know that they can also, if they're working in a field which the crop is mechuber, that they're also allowed to eat from that minola? Omar Kor, the pasuk says, "Echa beis pamim." We had a pasuk that said, it was in Devarim, it says, Kisovo b'komas rei echa, when a person will come into the field of his friend, v'kotafto, and he will pick it up, melila, so like he'll take kernels and he'll eat them individually, biodecha, v'chermesh lo sonif al komas rei echa, but he shouldn't take a sickle and start cutting it down in mass quantities. So they learn Kama twice. So they're going to darshan from there. We don't really need it twice. Why do we have Kama twice? Kama is one of the places where we learn that it's mutar for a poyel to eat from mechuber, and we don't need Kama twice. So if we don't need it for a poyel, for the second Kama, we'll apply it to animals. Omakro re'echa beis pamim im eno inyan la'adam b'mechuber, because we don't need it. We already have one. So Tinehu Inyan Lishor b'mechuber, we'll apply that to Shor b'mechuber. And that's how we're going to know that a shor is mutar as it's working with produce which is attached. Ravina Omar lo Adam b'talush v'lo Shor b'mechuber tzriche kroy. That an Adam, we only learn that he's a mutar with talush, with mechuber, but we don't know an Adam. The Mishnah tells us that an Adam also with talush, if he's working with talush before it comes to the chiyuv meiser, he can eat from it, or it can be eat from mechuber at the time at the shas gemar malacha, when he's like detaching it. But a shor, we know, because it says lo sachsom shor b'dishay, that a shor is allowed to eat when it's talush, but now we just learned ben mechuber. But Ravina says an adam b'talush or a shor b'mechuber, we don't even need a pasuk. Lo shor b'mechuber tzriche kroy. See, we don't even need, because of the lav of lo sachsom shor, because it says lo sachsom shor b'disha. That tells us that a shor b'talush is allowed to eat when it's working with produce which is talush, detached. So let's look at that. Michte, kol milei isnehu b'chasima. Everything really, when it's working, there should be a love of not covering up its mouth while it's working. Not just a shor. The yalfinin shor mishabes. There's a gzer shava, applies back to Shabbos, and which includes, we know by Shabbos, it doesn't just, whatever malachas or whatever halachas we were learning by Shabbos didn't just apply to shor. We were applying them to other animals and to everyone, and I guess also people. So we have gzer shava shor from Shabbos. And therefore, we should know that if the chasima, which is betalush, lo sachsom, sure, applies to everything, so then we should know that an Adam also can't be kept from eating when he's working with talush. And right, so the Gemara says, where do we know? However, where do we know sure with mechuber? Anyway, it says the imkain lichtov rachmana lo sidoish the chasima. Should have just said, don't do disha with chasima. When so then why did it say sure? Sure, because of rachmana lamali. Why do we need that? Therefore, we're understanding that it's in order to make this hekish. It's in order to make a hekish. In other words, if we were going to learn sure over the Shabbos and apply it to everything, we wouldn't have had to written the word sure by lo sachsom shor b'disho. We wouldn't have had to write the word sure, and we would have known that lo sachsom applies to everything. Why do we need the word sure to make gzer shav over the Shabbos? If we were trying to include everything is included in lo sachsom while it's doing work on talush. The Gemara comes to tell us that the shore there is for like the following drasha. Lamali. La kushe chaysem lenechsam. It's come to teach us that there's going to be a connection between the one who does the muzzling and the one who is and the one who is muzzled. And also a connection between the one that is muzzled to the one that does the muzzling. V'nechsam lechoysam. Lechoysem. And what's the connection? Ma choysem, meaning the one who does the muzzling. Because that's a person. He's allowed to eat mechuba because we learned already from Kama and from Hermesh. So after nechsam, the shore, or whoever is being restricted, after nechsam, should be able to eat because of this hekish. Should be able to eat also from mechuba, oichel b'mechuba. But man nechsam, the one that's muzzled, the shore, oichel b'talish, because we have lo sachsom shor b'disho. So there's going to be a connection between the one that's muzzled and the one that does the muzzling. So af chaysem oichel b'talish should also be able to eat b'talish. And therefore it comes out that that's how we learn. And we don't really need an extra any other psukim of kama from the fact that it does say that shor in lo sachsom shor b'disho, and we do have a connection shor to Shabbos, which tells us everything applies. So then what do we need the shor for? Just to tell us that there is this connection between the one who does the muzzling and the one that's muzzled. And therefore from there we're going to see that a person is also is allowed to eat from talush, of course, before it came to the chiyuv meiser, and he's allowed, the shor is also allowed to eat from the chuber, just as the one who does the muzzling, puts the muzzle on, is allowed to eat from a chuber, so too the one that's muzzled, the shor, is allowed to eat from a chuber, and the one that does the muzzling, the person, is allowed to eat from talush, just as the one that's muzzled, the shor, is allowed to eat from talush. Tana Rabbanu, we learn in a brisa, it says, dayish, when the shor does the disha, the dayish. So dayish, what is the characteristic of doing the disha? You want to turn that lower? Just as a shor does the disha, ma dayish, what is the characteristic of trampling on the kernels and breaking them open? Ma dayish meyuchad davar shigedu lekark. It's usually always going to be dealing with something which grew from the ground. So here's a brisa which tells us we're going to learn from there, and there we're allowing the shor to eat from the what he's working with. So mistama, when we allow, so poil, and we also know the poil oichel bo, poil can eat from this because we already have learned that a poil can eat from talush also. So therefore, we're going to say that everything that comes from the ground, a poil can eat from it. So avkol shegedule karka poil oichel bo. That's what we're going to say. A poil could eat from it. If this brisa is coming, dayish is coming to teach us that a poil can eat from anything which grows from the ground, and a poil can eat from that. What's it coming to exclude then? Yotze, something that doesn't grow from the ground. Yotze, hachoyleb, v'amechavetz, v'amenag, v'amegavein, meaning milk, or the making of butter, or the making of cheese. That those, if a person's working with those processes, he's not allowed to drink the milk, or eat the cheese, or eat the butter. She'ein gedulei karka, the ein poil eichel ba, so we'll say that there, poil is not allowed to eat from those things. Why do we need this drasha? We just learned, the Brisa speaks out that we just made this from Daesh, that a poil is not allowed to eat from things that don't grow from the ground. But why do we need that? We have a pasuk that says, we could have learned that from the pasuk that we had before, Mechi sovo bekerem re'echa, when a person will come as a worker into the kerem of his friend to start working. Nafka. We should be able to learn that all that is teaching us over there. We heard that was a case where he was allowed to eat. It says specifically he was allowed to eat. And there it was obviously gedulei karka, because something that came from the ground. So therefore, what do we need this limud from this? Why would we need such a limud of daesh that to teach us that it's only the poil is only allowed to eat from things that grew from the ground? We had it from the pasuk. Gemara says no. We needed the limud from daesh together with this pasuk. Why? Itzchich. We needed it. Why? Because salka daita chamina. You would have thought that hoyel viksiv kama, since we did have the word kama when we were speaking about, we were learning that a poil can eat from the chuber because it's from the word kama and from chemesh. So we might have thought once we were learning from kama, we said that it means anything. That it comes to include anything, any type of kama. We learn kisavo b'kamas re'echa. When a person will come into the field, v'kotafta mililus biyodecha v'chemesh lo tonif sonif al komas re'echa. So once we were learning from komas, you might think that Israel, Hoyel v'ksiv kama, l'rabos kol bali kama. We did learn that. We learned that because we needed to know where. You want to turn that off completely? We didn't. We did need to learn that all crops that a person works with that he can eat from them, and so we might have thought when we're learning from kama, and it's come to be inclusive, it'll come to include things that don't grow from the ground. So we had to learn this limud from daesh that no, it's only just as a daesh can be eaten by the poil, and it's something which goes to the ground. Therefore, only things which grow from the ground can the poil eat from. That's what we needed it for. We couldn't just learn from the pasuk that we wouldn't have been able to just learn from the kerem, which was just talking about growing things which grow from the ground. But we saw over there by kerem that the worker was allowed to eat from, because the ultimate limud was from kama and from chemesh, and that was like a limud which was coming to include all things, and therefore you might have thought it would include things even that don't grow from the ground. So that's why we need the extra limud from daesh. So, hoil v'kasiv kama l'rabos kol bali kama l'rabos nami midi dilo gedule karka ninu k'mash malan from daesh that it's only things which grow from the ground that the poil can eat. Tanya, Idach, we have a different brisa that learns from Daesh differently. Daesh. Ma Daesh miyuchad davar. Shebishas gemar malacha poel eichel bo. Because Daesh is shas gemar malacha. It's like breaking open the kernels. It's before they're broken open. It's not. They're not really. They're not like finished product. After they're broken open, it's closer. It's like kind of closer to the gemar malacha. Maybe it is the gemar malacha. Now you have a kernel. So you have a piece of food that can be eaten. A kernel can be eaten. So at least we see that the worker who will be working on breaking open the outer chaff will be working on, that would be shas gemar malacha, and we would see that that's the stage where he can eat from. So then we would say that that's the stage which a person is allowed to eat from, when he's taking that and turning it into an edible, at that stage where he's making it edible, so that's when he's allowed to eat from it. So I've called shehu b'shas gemar malacha, so apoil oichel bo. We're learning from Daesh that that's what we need, that it should be that stage for apoil to be able to eat it. What are we talking about? Yotza haminachesh b'shumim b'tzalim. So that's coming to exclude that if he's working on a stage which is not really gemar malacha, like taking out, there's sometimes you have like onions, and there are certain stunted onions that aren't going to grow bigger, and in the row, in the furrow, they're taking a place in the furrow, and they're not going to grow bigger. So they're really holding back the good onions from expanding. So by taking those onions that aren't going to develop and taking them out, you're allowing the ones that are next to it to expand and to grow better. And so that's not really gemar malacha, because the good onions are still on the ground and you didn't do anything. You didn't take them out. But you did take out those little onions that were next to them and you put them into the basket, and you're going to be giving them to the Baal Habayit. So that's what it's coming to exclude, because that's not gemar malacha. And where we would then be learning that it has to be the gemar malacha in order for the poil to be eaten. But if you would be taking these small onions that are undeveloped and aren't going to develop, you're putting them into the basket, and he's going to be giving them to the Baal Habayit, he can't eat from them because it's not gemar malacha. Poil oichel bo yotza, these things haminachesh b'shumim ubim b'tzalim, meaning taking out the stunted shum, garlic, or the stunted onions. That is not gemar malacha of the good onions, and the poil cannot eat from them as he's taking out. So, Lamali, what do we need that from Daesh to learn that from? We could learn that from a pasuk. What's the pasuk? When we learn, it says, "Mive el kelecha lo siten nafka." We learn that he shouldn't be putting them when he was in the kerem of his friend. He shouldn't take the grapes and put them into his own vessel. He can eat them individually. That showed us that we were at gemar malacha. It was a stage where he was picking them off and putting them into a kli. That's gemar malacha. So we knew already that was the stage. What do we need to learn from Daesh? That it has to be gemar malacha. Gemara says, "Lo tzrich." We needed the Daesh together with the pasuk. Avagav diko mashlif. All right, so that was later. In other words, from Daesh, we learned that it has to be gemar malacha. Come to exclude, like weeding out menachesh b'shumim u'b'batolim. Like menachesh means to be stam weeding. You're not picking them out. It's not the gemar malacha. Right. That is the pshat, taking out the ones that was the understanding, taking out the bad ones. And the answer is Avagab, because the answer is we need it. Avagab, they call mashlif ketine bebeni alime, because even though, right, that's that thing. Because you might, even if you're taking the small ones from the big ones. So you might think that you could eat them. You still can't eat them because it's not really the Gemar Malacha. So like the first Havmina was that Rashi says, in the narrow lines of Rashi, down about 8 lines, even though they call Mashlif Ketine, you're taking the little ones out. Yesh b'bitzolim, right. And so you really are taking some and putting into the basket. So you might think that you're still putting into the basket. So it's similar to the pasuk. But no, from the Daesh, we have to learn that it mamash has to be the Gemar Malacha, and it's not really the Gemar Malacha because the good onions are still in the ground. And so I guess the Havmina was you're just taking the bad ones out and throwing them in the garbage. But no, you're taking the stunted ones out and putting them in the basket. You might think that since you are giving them to the Baal Bayis, that it's similar to what the pasuk was talking about, that you would be able to eat then also. But no, if it's not the real Gemar Malacha of the good onions, you wouldn't be able to eat them either. The Gemara says we have another brisa. Right. Tanya Idach, another brisa is similar. Also Daesh. Ma Daesh miyuchad. Daesh. What is a characteristic here? A new characteristic of Daesh. Miyuchad. It's a davar shelo nigmar malachto l'maisa. Oh, well, as he's doing disha, it's certainly not chayav maisa yet, just by breaking open the chaff and getting the kernel out. Didn't reach the stage where it's really chayav maisa. And there we saw for sure, the poil can eat it. So here we see from Daesh that it also, when can he eat it? Before it comes to the stage where it's chayav maisa. So Av Kol Shelo Nigmar Malachto L'Maisa. Therefore, they want to make this limud. When is the poil allowed to eat? When it didn't come to the stage of Maisa. So poil Eichel Bo Yotzei. What does that come to exclude? Obviously, it's going to come to exclude something that did come to the stage of Maisa. What would that be? Yotzei Haboidel B'Tumayim U'B'Groi Grois. Hoil V'Nigmar Malachto L'Maisa. Ein poil Eichel Bo. It's coming to exclude the case where they take dates and figs and they squish them together, and then certain dates and figs are squished together, and then they come and they take them apart. They separate them again at some this could be they separate them with like a small rake or with a rake, and as they're separating them, so then. I guess there's right. As they gather them, maybe they stick together, and you have to like rake them out to separate them from each other. So that would be when they become chayav ma'aser, and that's what it would be coming to exclude. That if a person was oisik in raking them out and separating them, he wouldn't be able to eat them because they're chayav ma'aser. Right. In fact, the Gemara, by the time we learn in a brisa, however, that boidel separating them, it says over here, we have a brisa, boidel b'tamarim u'b'groigros, poil eichelbo, the poil is allowed to eat them. Why are we saying over here that it comes to exclude from Daesh? It has to be that it didn't reach the stage of ma'aser. It comes to exclude when the separating of the figs and dates, and that would be the stage where it's chayav ma'aser. So you wouldn't be able to eat them. We have a brisa that says separating these things at that stage is not a problem. You can still eat them. Why? Kasha, it's a kasha from a brisa. Omer Rav Papa, Kitanya hahu be soichlone, because we're talking about soichlone. Soichlani means that we said before that that's a problem because it's chayav ma'aser. They were good, they were normal dates, good dates. that we're really trying to separate. But if we're dealing with dates, Rashi says, where we are in the Gemara up about 10, 12 lines, but tomorrow, roin, the bad dates. She'ain misbashlin, they didn't ripen. Be'ilan, machnisin lekiyum bechli shel kapos. They put them into a reed basket made out of the palm leaves themselves, in order that they should all be together and get ripe. Tomorrow, the salmon choislois umischamamois. They put them in there and they get warmed up, misbashlos, and they get ripe. V'koydim shenizbashlo komar va'aboidel mehen let's oichel behem. So before, I guess, they are ripe, if a poil would have to like separate them a little bit, so then he would be able to eat them, because they wasn't nigma la malachtel for Meiser, because they weren't good, they weren't really ripened yet. So really what Tosfos learns, really what he's separating them from is sometimes when they're in that stage, some of them are good already and some of them are bad. So he's really separating the good from the bad, and that's where he can eat them. The good ones he's allowed to eat, because that's not, because it's since they're not really the stage of a chiyuv meiser, since it's connected, they're mixed with the bad. Tanya Idach, we have another similar brayser that darshans from Daesh, different limud. Daesh, Miucha davar shelo nigmar malachto lechala. Daesh is also for grains, which is usually going to come to make flour, which then there will be a chiyuv chala. But it didn't in the threshing stage. It's obviously not holding by a chiyuv of chala until they add the water and do the lisha, and then they let it rise, and then they bake it. Around those stages, but not when it's just being the disha, the threshing of it. The poil oichelbo, and a poil can eat as long as it didn't come to the stage of challah. So av kol davar shelo nigmar malachto lechala poil oichelbo. So any crop, grain that didn't come to the chiyuv of challah, we would then learn that a poil would be able to eat it. Nigma malachto bo, poil oichelbo. What does that come to exclude? Yotze halash v'amikatev v'oifa. Shnigma malachto lechala. That comes to exclude having done the lisha and let it rise and putting it in the oven, and which then you have to take a piece out for challah. To ain poil oichelbo, you wouldn't be able, if you was osek in that process, you wouldn't be able to eat from any of it without taking mice. Without taking challah. In fact, the Gemara, you're allowed to eat from it before those stages, as long as it didn't come to the lisha and the rising and the baking, then you're allowed to eat from it. But before it came to the chiyuv of challah, it came to the chiyuv of meiser. How can you be eating from it? Came from the chiyuv of meiser. So since it came to the chiyuv of meiser, as soon as they take all the pile of the grain and they smooth it out and they make it into like a pile, the miruach akri, that's already chayav meiser. And then after that, there's other stages before it even gets to the chiyuv of challah. There's the grinding of it, the techina, making it into a flour, and then the sifting it. So if a worker was osek in the grinding of it or the sifting of it, which already he wouldn't be able, it didn't come to a challah yet, but he wouldn't be able to eat any of it because it's already come to the chiyuv of meiser. because that's after the Meruach Kri. So why? The Gemara says it's not a problem. Lo kasha. Why? B'chutz la'aretz askina. We're dealing with chutz la'aretz. The lake of Meiser. There's no Meiser in chutz la'aretz, so therefore we're only worried about when it will come to the chiyuv of challah. And so as long as it didn't come to the chiyuv of challah, he can still eat from it as he's working in it. The Gemara says if we're in chutz la'aretz, there's no chiyuv of challah either. There's not going to be a chiyuv of challah either. So then, if so, then why, if we're dealing with chutz la'aretz, why do we say that you can eat from it until it comes to the chiyuv of challah? We're talking about true then ba'aretz. We are ba'aretz, where there is a chiyuv of meiser and there is a chiyuv of challah. So how can we say that he can, as long as it didn't come to the chiyuv of challah, he can still be eating from it? Stam it came to the chiyuv of meiser. Lo kashu, b'sheva shekivshu u'b'sheva shechilku. In the first 7 years, during the time when Klal Yisrael was coming into the land of Israel and conquering the land from the people that were there already, so then there was a chiyuv then of challah, because the lashonos of the psukim is when you come in, you should also already have to take challah, and the lashon. But however, the chiyuv of meiser is after they divide, is mashma, after they have divided up the land. That was the lashon, mashma, from the different wordings of when you come. The biaschem, it was mashma that the chiyuv of meiser would only be after they actually inherited, each one tribe inherited their portion. And so therefore, we see that it was during that time. So then we weren't worried about Maisa because there was no chiyuv of Maisa, because it could have been during this first 7 years when they just had come in. If they had crops and they want to eat from it, they can be Isaac in it. A pile would be able to eat from it as he's being Isaac in it until it comes to the chiyuv of challah, and he wouldn't have to worry about Maisa because it's during those years that there was no chiyuv of Maisa yet. To Omamam, Sheva Shekivshu v'Sheva Shechilku, Nischayvu b'Chala, v'lo Nischayvu b'Meiser. Pick the word. Why would you be worried that something should come, that if something came to the chiyuv of Meiser, that you wouldn't be able to eat from it anymore? It's, Rashi says, Midi Meiser Kagorim, Gemar Malacha Kagorim. Rashi opposite where we are on the Gemara. Midi Chiyuv Meiser Kagorim. Is it when a crop comes to the Chiyuv of Meiser that is when the poil cannot touch it anymore, cannot eat from it? The next Rashi says, Gemar Malacha Kagarim. It's the finishing, when it comes to its stage where it's ready to be eaten, it's transformed from not being ready to be eaten to being ready to be eaten. That's what should, Kidiyalev, Rashi says, Gemar Malacha Kagarim, Kidiyalev Medayesh. Well, there we saw that it was the threshing was the Shas Gemar Malacha, transforming. The person was allowed to eat from it during that stage. That was the stage of Shas Gemar Malacha. That's what we should be focusing on. We don't have to look at when there's a Chiyuv Maisa. K'diyolef bin Dayesh. Lo shana bizman ma'aser v'lo shana shelo bizman ma'aser. We weren't focusing on that because that wasn't even to ma'aser gabi achilas poyel lo kosi. We didn't even focus on that. It was the only focus that we had was on the Gemar Malacha. So why would we even be worried about that? So Omar, Ella, Omar Rabina, what should we do? In other words, because we had these two ways of learning this Dayesh. One brisa learned it as that they can eat up until there's a chiyuv meiser, and the other brisa said they can eat it until there's a chiyuv challah. And we had trouble being miyashiv them because sometimes in normal cases, the chiyuv ma'aser comes before the chiyuv chala. We had to find a special case, like the 7 years of kibush and the 7 years of yishuv, of chiluka, that they, in order to answer the question. But the Gemara says that why should that the stage of chiyuv ma'aser have been a problem? Ravina says what you're supposed to do. Omar Ravina kroch v'tani. Rashi says where we on the Gemara down 4 lines. Omar Ravina kroch v'tani. Put them together. Put those last two together. Take the brisa that said wait until the pole can eat it up until the chiyuv ma'aser, or that the pole can eat up until the chiyuv chala. Put them together. Rashi says hanach tarti masnisin. These 2 last brises to le'el lo misnin hu chada chada. Don't learn them separately. These lemisne b'kamaisa. Says don't learn them chada chada. Lemisne b'kamaisa. Ma dayish miyuchad davar shalot nigma malachto lemaisa. Right. Don't first learn the first brisa that it that way, and then we're going to have a problem with the second brisa. If you learn the first brisa that says the poil can eat up until the time when it's chayav for meiser, and then you go and learn the second brisa, you can eat up until the time of challah, then there's a problem between the 2 brisas. Don't learn it like that. T'im kein shmamina ha nigmara lemeiser lo ochil. Because then we would learn already that if it's already came to the stage of nigma for meiser, then he can't eat it anymore. And then it doesn't make sense. The second brisa, he has until it becomes ready for challah. Don't learn it that way. And then the brisa about the stage of challah becomes problematic. Ella, put them together. Put both brisas together, and basically say, Ella kroich v'tani choda. How do we learn it then? Ma dayish miyuchad shelo nigma malachto lemaisu lechala. The dayish, it's both. Is not come to the stage of chiyuv ma'aser. It didn't come to the stage of chiyuv chala yet. And shehen devarim hanoigin bo, which are noig by with flour. They are stages that would become noig with this. And afkol, then we'll apply that to other crops. Afkol shelo nigmar malachto lidavar hanoig bo, to whatever does apply to it. Then that will be when the poil can no longer eat from it. Well, im lemaiser lechude. If it's only something which comes to meiser, doesn't have challah, then up until that stage, lemaiser im lechala lechala. And if it's something which the challah comes first, then up until the challah yotza, and that would come to exclude the malacha, the work of separating the dates and the figs that are squished together, because that is their gemar malacha. Yotza habaydil b'tamarim dinigmara lemaiser, that it's nigmara lemaiser as when at that moment when they separated. Ve'ein behem adavar mu'uchar memena, and there's no other stage after that, so that would be the time when he can't eat anymore. The yotza alosh, and that would also come to exclude another type. Since you were combining the 2 brises, it would come to exclude the boidel, and it would also come to exclude the losh when they've reached the stage of kneading the dough already. Shenigmara malato lemu'uchar shabo, that it will become I guess we would say that whatever comes later would be the nigma, would be the gemar malacha. That's the way we should learn it. Right. In fact, the more iboyalu, they asked, "Apoyel ma'ushi havev bo'or, bo'yacha." Poil's working and he takes a grape and he wants to eat the grape, but the grape is not so ripe. Can he take a bunch of grapes and make a fire, put them over the fire to heat them up and to make them more edible, soften them up and make them more sweet and eatable? Since he has the right to eat from some grapes as he's working, can he do that? Even though the grapes that he's working with now are not so edible, can he make them edible? Because we had the Mishnah told us that he can't take grapes and eat them with a davar acher, because that he might end up eating too many grapes. But what about preparing the grapes? Not adding any, you're not eating them together with something else. Can you prepare them to make them more edible? So that's the shaila. Is that considered anavim v'davar acher or not? So the Gemara says, so mi heavy can anavim v'davar acher or lo? Is that like anavim v'davar acher or not? Tashma, we'll bring you right. Rashay balabayis lashkois poilim yayin k'dei shelo yochlu anavim arbe. An owner is allowed to give to his poilim, let them drink wine in order that they'll be, I guess, filled up and they won't be able to eat so much while they're working. He's allowed to do that. And then Rashoyin poilim litbo pitam betzir k'dei shiyochol anavim arbe. And the poilim are allowed to, when they're eating their bread, to dip it in fish fat, and which will, I guess it's like, then they're going to need something sweet afterwards, and that will make that they can eat a lot of grapes. That's mutar for them to do. Why? That's clearly not considered grapes in a davar acher. Mixing your bread with fish fat is not mixing your grapes with something, it's mixing your bread with something. And as long as you're not mixing the grapes with something, they're allowed to do it, even if that's something which helps them eat more grapes. So that should be the answer. That heating up the grapes, you're not mixing them with anything, you're not eating them with something else that makes you able to eat more grapes, you're just heating them up. So that should be mutar. That's what we want to answer. So lachshuri gavra lo kimi voyalan. So that's not a problem, because he's preparing himself. He's eating the fish fat with his bread, prepares the man to be able to eat more grapes. That was never the shaila. The shaila was kimi boya when we lan lachshuri pira. The whole shaila was, can he do something with the grapes, eat something together with the grape, in order to make that he'll be able to eat more grapes, and which is called achshure pira, preparing of the grape. So if we look at it that way, so then heating up the grapes over the fire would be preparing the grapes. So mine. That's the shaila. The shaila is preparing of the grape. Is this considered preparing of the grape? My tashma. See the Rashi in the top line of Rashi's. Achshuri gavra la'achin atzmo la'achila meruba lo kimi boyelan. That's not the shaila over here. That's pashut that he's allowed to. Shahari lo osho olav Torah. The Torah didn't usher him from eating something that makes him want to eat more grapes. V'hai love ka'anavim v'davar acher dami. So that would never be eating fish fat with his bread. It would never be like anavim v'davar acher. To hosam gabi anavim achshuri piru, because by anavim eating something together with the grape is called preparing of the grape to make it more edible. And just eating fish fat with his bread is preparing the person to be able to eat more. So what's the answer? You gotta be heating up l'havev, the grapes, over the fire. What is that? So tashma, bring it right. Poilin oichlin anavim beroshi umniyos shelhem. That a poilim, as they're going, they usually eat the grapes, which are more exposed to the sun, the ones that are, when they are going to eat, the ones on the outside of the cluster that are exposed to the sun, those are the ones they eat. They're allowed to eat. Bilvan shelo yehavavu be'or, but don't heat them up over the fire. So there it says clearly, you're not supposed to heat them up. Gemara says we can't bring a raya from there that you can't heat them up, because the only reason why they weren't allowing them to heat them up over there was because by heating them up, it takes away time from their malacha. Nothing to do with the fact that they could eat more of them. Hasam shum bittul malacha, so you can't bring a raya from there. Kikam boilan. Gemara says, when were we telling you that you're not allowed to heat them up? Hecha the ika ishta b'bonai. That was you can't say it was because of bittul malacha. We said we said that you can't heat them up in the case where his wife and kids are heating it up for him. He's still doing his work. He's not mevatel from any malacha. Shaila was, what if somebody else is heating it up for him? Can somebody else heat it up for him? And when he's not mevatel his malacha, then what's the din there? Is he allowed? That's what we were referring to. So I'll bring you a raya. Tashma. Lo yihavev bo'or v'yochal. It says, we have another brayso, don't heat them up over the fire and eat them. Lo yichmur be'adama. And don't bury them in the ground in order to warm them up in the adama to make them sweeter. V'yochal. Lo yifruch al gavi yasel. And don't roll them on top of a rock that'll make them softer. V'yochal. Al yifruch al yad. But you can roll them in your hand to make them softer. That's okay. Gemara says the only reason why we said you can't over there in that price, why we said you can't heat them up and do all of these pa'ulas is because it's bittul malacha. Hasam mishum bittul malacha. Hachinami mistavra. And it's mistavra that it was talking about bittul malacha. The isakadaitach mishum mituke peira. That because if you thought that what was being discussed over there was we were worried about he would make them too edible and therefore he'd eat too much, the case of rolling them on a rock isn't going to make them more sweeter. Must be a sela, a maimetuke peraika. It's not really, doesn't really make the fruit more sweet. So it must be that we just don't want people doing it, because it takes them away from their work. Why would he be doing it? Gemara answers, no, you don't, can't say that it's just because of bittul malacha, and that it's definitely, the whole Bryce is only talking about bittul malacha, and it's not talking about that we're not worried about them eating too much fruit, or preparing the fruit to make, that they should eat more of it. Because Iyav Shah de lo mamtik Purta. No, even with the rock, it's going to sweeten it up a little bit. And the problem there was, we don't want you sweetening it up. You'll end up eating too much. And we thought we were going to prove it from there, because it says, don't heat them up over the fire and eat. So it seems like you're not supposed to be heating them up, because it's preparing the fruit, and that it seems like from here that it is like Anavim v'darachim. But the Gemara goes on with the other rayas, Tashma poilim shahayu oidrim v'te'enim. These are types of picking of various types of fruits. Oidrim means picking the te'enim, the figs. The goidrim, the tamar means picking the tamarim. The boitstream, ba'anavim means picking the grapes. The moiskin, b'zeisim means picking the olives. Said over there in the Brisa. Hari elu eichlin, you can eat them. Whoever's doing that oisek in that pu'ula can eat them. The peturim, and they're potter from meiser. They don't even have to take meiser. Because the Torah gives it to them that when they're oisek in the work, they're allowed to eat from it, and they don't have to take meiser. However, the Brisa says the pitam lo yachlu. They can't take the grapes or the fruits and stick it into their pita and make it like a lifta, a condiment for their bread, that they make them eat more of it. Now, they can't do that. V'pitam lo yochlu elaim ke notlu reshus mebalabais, unless they got permission from the balabais. It continues. The Brisa continues. V'lo yasfois b'melech, and they're not supposed to like bury the fruit in salt to make it get right, to soften it. Yochal. So Mora says, melach v'alek anavim v'davar dami. Putting it in melach, that's definitely like adding something to the grapes, and that will be the issur of anavim v'davar. And therefore, for sure, v'lo yispois b'melach b'yochal. So that's like the brisa. So the shaila is, it says, so we just saw that a person cannot put them in salt. In fact, more, we have a brisa that says v'raminu. We're asking a question from brisa. A soicher es a poel la'odar ulekashkesh. Tachas hazeisim. A person who hires a worker to dig or to cover up exposed roots under the olive tree. So harizeh lo yochal. He can't eat from the olives because he's not oisik in the gemar malach of the olives at all, and they're mechuber. So he can't just eat from the. He can't eat from the olives. Schora livsor, schora limsoik, schora lilaket. If he's hired to pick the grapes or the olives or any other gathering of crops that fell to the ground already, harizeh oichel b'poter. He's allowed to eat, and he's potter from having to take meiser from it. Because the Torah gave it to them as they're working, they're allowed to take. Kotzatz, if he made an arrangement with the balabayas that I will work for you and I will eat. Be able to eat is almost like his wage. It's part of his wage. So achas yochal. To eat one by one, he's allowed. And then because they made up that he should be able to eat and do the work and you'll be able to eat. It's like, that's his pay, but he can only do it one by one, meaning he's allowed without taking ma'aser. And that's when they fixed an agreement between them that you do the work and you can eat. He's mamish poter for ma'aser as long as he eats only one by one. But shtaim lo yochal. But two by two, even if they made up that that's going to be his wage, he can't eat two by two without taking ma'aser because that's already kovas l'ma'aser. And then it says, V'sofas b'melach v'yochal. Then at the end of the brisa it says, he can bury it in salt and eat. And here we're talking about the case mashma. So we had this brisa that said, the first part said that he's not working on mamash the gemar malacha of the fruit, he can't eat from it. But we're not talking about even when he's hired to pick the fruit, he still can't. He can eat and he'll be poter from ma'aser. Mo wants to know, when we said over there that about burying it in the salt, was that going on the ratio where he was not kotzatz, when he didn't fix an agreement with the balabais that you work and you can eat, or going on when he was kotzatz? The Sefer. What says Ahaya? Where is it going on? Is it going on the ratio or on the Sefer? If it's going on the Sefer where he was kotzatz, it was an agreement between the balabayas. You do this work and you can eat. And they fixed. Kevin the kotzatz. So the Gemara says, why would that be? Why would you think that he cannot bury it in melach? If he made an agreement with the balabayas that you can do the work and you can eat, and that will be your pay, so it doesn't matter how he eats the grapes, he's allowed to eat them. Kevin the kotzatz, kol hechi de boy leichol. He can eat any way he wants because there was agreement. So it has to be that it must be going on the ratio that it says he's allowed to be buried in salt in order to get to be ripe. And that's a kasha on what we had in the previous brisa, where we said, lo yisfos b'melach v'yochal, in previous brisa. And the Gemara says, therefore we have to say it's going on the ratio. Elulav aresha. Omar Abaye lo kasha. It's not a kasha between this second price and the first price. So lo kasha. Kan ba'aretz, kan b'chutz la'aretz. Therefore, the case where it was asa, where it was we said it was asa, that would be ba'aretz, where you can't eat, because what they're saying is that by burying it in salt and making it ripe, that's like bringing it kovas lemaiser. That's bringing it to a chiyuv meiser. Since we're in Ba'aretz, that's where there's a chiyuv meiser d'oraisa. That's why you can't eat it, because sofas b'melach is kovas lemaiser, but in chutz la'aretz there's no chiyuv meiser, so it doesn't matter even if you sofas b'melach, it's not going to be bring it to a chiyuv meiser, kovas lemaiser. So kan ba'aretz, kan b'chutz la'aretz. So that's what we say. Ba'aretz kova sfisa. Ba'aretz, by putting it into salt, that's a pu'ula that shows that that's like the goyrin of the grape or the olive, and he's showing that it's the it's the final stage for him. So therefore, it's kovas ba'aretz, but b'chutz la'aretz lo kovas sofa sfisa. Bury it in salt to get it to be ripe in chutz la'aretz, where there's no meiser. That's not kovas anything, because there's no meiser anyway. So that's why that would be the second brisa where it was muter. Even so, Omar Rava, mi ikamidi. How can we say such a thing? That one brisa where it says that it's usher to eat when he buries it in salt is when we're dealing with Eretz Israel, and the reason is because it's kovas l'maiser, and where it's muter, it's because it's in chutz la'aretz. So mi ika Amar Rava, mi ika midi dibi oretz kova sfisa midaraisa. That it's deraisa becomes it's kovas for meiser deraisa in Eretz Israel, and in b'chutz la'aretz it's nothing. B'chutz la'aretz lo kovas sfisa v'muter l'chachila. Usually, when we make a derabanan, it's a derabanan bedin deraisa, where we see a deraisa working, like in Eretz Israel, we would then apply it to chutz la'aretz, not take it where there would be a din deraisa and issa chiyuv meiser. In this way, with burying it in salt, and then where we have and then not have a derabanan at all, in chutz la'aretz, it would be completely, there wouldn't even be a derabanan. Muter l'chachila, Amar Rava. So therefore, no, we're talking about bein ba'aretz, bein b'chutz la'aretz. We're talking about. So what we're telling you is chada lokova sfisa. That doesn't matter where you are. If we're talking about being kova lemaiser by way of burying it in salt and saying that that's the pu'ula which shows that it's goren, it's like the goren for the olive or the grape. So it does. If you just eat one grape, even if it was sofa into salt, that won't be kova for meiser. Even if we say that burying in salt, it can be that goran, and be kova for meiser. If you only take one olive or one grape, it won't be kova, even with sofa. But if you take two, then burying in salt will be kova la meiser. So that's what I mean. Chada lo kova spisa, but tarti kova spisa. And that is, like we said, it's going on the ratio where there was no kotzatz, when there was no agreement between the owner and the worker, but it's just that burying in salt with no agreement was just an act of kova l'maiser. So you can't get around it. He has to take meiser before he eats it. But what about in the sefer where they made an agreement that he's allowed to eat, and that's his payment for working? Kotzatz, then bein sofas, bein lo sofas. So then when these kotzatz, it's more close to a reason for him to have to take meiser, because it's like his wage. And just like we say with mekach, it's also a chiyuv for meiser. And so this is more like mekach now. So So then with kotzatz, bein sofas, bein lo sofas, it's going to be like we saw this with sofas, was telling you on 1 or 2. But with when he fixes with the balabayas, so bein sofas, bein lo sofas, we just look at how much he's eating. Achas oichel, shtaim lo yochal. So then when he fixes and it becomes like mekach, we don't need the dipping in salt to make it kovas lemaisa. That's some agreement between them that this is going to be like his wage is enough to turn into maisa as long as he eats at least 2 of them. Because for to call the kotzatz to be that should be like it's goren. Goren has to be in a sifa, a gathering of the produce. And if you only have 1, there's no gathering. It can't read. That can't be called goren to be called alemaisa. So in order to be called that this should be, because it's like a mekach, it should be considered goren to call alemaisa, has to be at least 2. So that's why achas he can eat without taking maisa, the poil. But shtaim, when if he wants to eat 2 at a time, then he can't eat without taking maisa. And what about the case where he didn't make any agreement with the owner that this should be his wage? Lo kotzatz, and he didn't dip it in salt either, so he didn't do anything which is like goren for the fruit. Velo sofas. So then what can he do when he's working? Oichel shtaim. He can eat 2 at a time. 2. And it won't even be a kova lamais. He can eat 2. And what if he's sofas? And if he dips it in salt? So then, so achas oichel. If he dips it in salt, and that's kovas lamaisa, that's the goren, then again, 1 is never going to be a sifa, a kibbutz of the perus, to be a kova lamaisa. Achas oichel without taking maisa. Shtaim lo yochal, 2 and 2. If it was sofas and salt, and you can't eat without taking maisa. If you have a gab, do not tal rishus mibal maisa. Even if he would take rishus, he can't because it has a chiyuv maisa. The reason is the tavil lehu lemaisa, because he was now considered the goren. It made it tevel for maisa to be taken from it. The kova sfisa, and it became tevel by the gathering of 2, and then it was kova lemaisa, I guess, by putting it in salt. Right? V'tarti the kova sfisa. In fact, more. Where do we know that 2? Where do we know that v'tarti the kova sfisa minolan? Where do we know that 2 types of fruit that are put in salt, that putting in salt will be like the gorin and will be kova lemaisa minolan? Where do we know that? Omar Rev Masna to Omar Kro, the pasuk says ki kovtzam. Amir goyrna, when you will gather them like banas, like sheaves in a goyrin. Whenever produce will be gathered like sheaves are gathered in a field into a granary, then that's kovas lemaisa. So too, anything like an olive or a grape, if it's brought together with 2 of them, and then you put it, and then you are goren by putting them in salt. It's like you're saying that's their gemar malacha. That's kovas lemaisa, and we'll stop here.